good speakers, they got disqualified. You know why? Because they never read the rules. The rule says you're not supposed to have props. I have a girl who bring umbrella, I will bring a whole entire family over here. I have a guy who actually did a magic trick and actually have a bird flying off his cap. I thought when I saw the bird flying, I thought don't need play already, lose. Yeah, so but turned out that they lose. So the good thing was, my principal came up to me, he was Mr. Quack, right? And he says this, he said, Eric, on Monday morning, I'd like you to deliver the same speech in front of the whole entire school. We all are Singaporeans, or at least most of us, and we know that when someone with authority asks you to do something, the answer is? Yes. No choice. So I say yes. Alright, but then after that, I realized that actually there's a good reason why I should do this whole public speaking thing. Because you see, secondary school, right, if you ever like a girl, and if the girl is from another class, you're going to have a problem. Because she'll never know you. Right? I was not in any sports, I was a nerd, I spent all my time in the library, and there was no way she would ever know who I am. So I thought that if I can be on stage delivering a really cool speech called Nuclear Energy, maybe one day I can come up to her and say, hi, my name is Eric. I'm the guy who was up there just now. Right, so that was a good pickup line, right? So I thought, okay, I was so inspired, so I said, can do. So Monday morning, at the back of the stage, 800 people. I'm sure all of you have been there before. 5 minutes before your presentation, how do you feel? Diana, how do you feel? 5 minutes before you have to do that big thing.
Pretty cool.
Oh, really cool. Cool girl. I'm not. I was extremely nervous. I was, listening to the footsteps of all the students and the chattering, and it was really nervous. So imagine I was on the backstage, and I was perspiring non-stop. My heart was beating really fast. I was suffering from the aerobic effects of public speaking. Yeah, and I was losing water by the gallons. And so I was like, okay, I was trying to memorize my presentation, and then came my best friend Jacinta. She gave me a picture of a dog. No idea why a dog, but she likes dogs and she figured dogs can calm your nerves. So she gave me a picture of a dog, and at the back was some tips. And she said, I went to do some research, I found some public speaking books, and there are some tips for you. And she says, okay, tip number 1, alright? Are you nervous now? I said, yeah, I'm extremely nervous, okay? Now I want you to take 50 deep breaths. In my house, I got time. I said, just breathe. So and I started breathing until 20. By the time I hit 20, I was hyperventilating. So it didn't work. And so she said, okay, fine. Tip number 2. And she says, later on when you are in front of the stage, okay, you're nervous, right? Because everybody will be looking at you. All you need to do is just imagine that your audience is naked. Can you imagine you naked now? I won't be looking at you guys. I'll probably be focusing here. Right? And you must understand that back then in Anderson Secondary School, right, all our teachers are really, really old. Tsunami type that guy. Can you imagine a teacher with like dentures, that's so wrong. So it didn't work at all. And when it didn't help as well that the MC introduced me this way. This guy, I have no idea who he is, he says this, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our next speaker. I tell you, he's the best of the best, you won't regret. I was like, whoa! Is that me or not? They said, yeah, it's you. And he had no idea who I am. So when I walk out on stage, there was a tall hat that I had to fill. Plus, the people in the first row were the normal students, the not so good students. Yeah? And so these students, they're the Abings and Aliens of my school. And you know what? All of them were super unfriendly. They were like, oh yeah? Really good, huh? So the audience was exactly what you said, not supportive of you. In fact, they're trying to wait for you to fall. And the biggest problem was the girl. The girl that I wanted to hit the impression on was talking to you. So she was having a conversation, she had no idea there was this guy, speaking, and everybody was chattering and teachers were marking books. It was a mess. No one was really listening. And I was halfway through my speech, I forgot to introduce myself, I forgot half my speech, I was stammering through the nuclear energy, and then bang, one teacher at the back, doing something that was disgusting. What do Singaporeans do when no one's looking? Oh, you know one of them, right? So they was digging nose. And you must understand the thing about digging nose. You never ever stop the person. Have you ever digged your nose before? Answer the question. Yeah, some people never. Yeah, when you dig a nose, right, when you got something there, I let go, right? You have to make sure you pull it out. You're not half there, half in, half out. Right, so you got to make sure you get it in and then pull it out. So she was halfway through getting the big goal out of the nose, and I just couldn't bear to stop her. So I was like, is it in or out? In or out? not concentrating on my audience. So as you can imagine, the bell rang, I was not halfway done my speech, and my embarrassed principal have to go up on stage to invite me down. The applause, none. Not, after that I realized that it's actually better than this. Can you imagine giving me a 1? Right, so condescending. So I was really disappointed with myself, and I thought, oh my god, you know, I just embarrassed myself with about 800 students, and I was only in Sec 3. I still have 1.5 years to go, and I have no idea where to put my face. And that's the worst thing to ever do, you know, to embarrass yourself. So I remember at the end of the year, someone wrote in the yearbook, you know, you usually write nice stuff, and this gentleman wrote that. I think it's a gentleman because his handwriting is atrocious. And he wrote that, Eric, I will never forget you as the guy who won the public speaking contest. Won. The air quotes, you know, hurt for the longest of time. And I was fortunate. You know, to many people, I'm sure after a bad experience like that, you will tell yourself, you know what, I think the stage is not my cup of tea, I'll probably stay as a librarian. Yeah, and I was very tempted to do that. But I had a science teacher who was the one who got me to sign up. He said this to me, and I will never forget this lesson. He says that, Eric, the question is never about when you fall. The question is never about when you fall. The question is, what will you do after you fall? That's more important. And that was a very important lesson I learned when I was 15 years old. Like, my God, it's okay to make mistakes. The question is, what are you going to do after that? And so, fortunately for my teacher, I decided, you know what? I got to really improve my public speaking skills. And so for the longest of time, you know, I actually started looking out for public speaking programs. Back then there was Toastmasters, but being 15 years old, you know, I was too young for that. And I remember attending little small classes. I started going to drama. And I remember one of my key moments was borrowing books after books, you know, plowing through books after books of public speaking, really learning the skill. And that was when I found there was so many crappy ideas of how to curb your nervousness. There's another one they say, you know, if you're afraid to look them in the eye, just look at their forehead. What kind of tip is that? You know, look at their forehead. Some forehead are so shiny you can see yourself. It's so distracting. So it doesn't work. And my turning point came when I was in NUS. I accidentally became an ambassador for my faculty. And because of that, I had to attend a public speaking class taught by my mentor, who was the president of NUS Toastmasters. So he was the guy who wrote me into Toastmasters, and you know, I never looked back. I met so many great speakers. I learned a lot through the evaluations. And thanks to NUS, I got a chance to study overseas for a 1.5 years. And that was the best time of my life. You see, during the weekends, where most of us, if you're overseas, what you do? You party, right? Or you travel. But I don't. I took a Greyhound bus, I buy a ticket to a Greyhound bus, and I travel around states to meet speakers. I know, it's damn nerdy, right? I know, it's very nerdy. People go there, meet stars and celebrities, I go and meet speakers. Because by then, I kind of know who are the great speakers in America. Alright, some of them are actually world champions of public speaking. They won contests, they beat 100,000 people around the world. And I just wanted to meet them for the first time and, you know, touch them a bit and probably get some good luck. And, you know, and I was doing exactly the same thing that Sean was doing earlier on. And that is, I actually prepared a whole list of questions, really a lot of questions that I faced out of my challenges. And I just sat down there, interviewed them, you know, buy them a cup of tea, but they end up buying me a meal. And that was a good thing, because back then I was still a student. I still remember one time I followed a speaker all the way to a hotel. No, I'm not stalking him. Okay, he's leading a conference the next day. The problem was I just realized that I ran out of money. And so I was stuck. I could not stay in that hotel, it was too expensive. So me and my friend, my buddy JJ, alright, he's a student over there, we wanted to stay in the swimming pool. And we thought, you know, we were hanging there and the next day we'll just change and go. So it was that desperate. And I mean, good and bad thing is there was a friend of ours who, you know, realized that he forgot to bring his hard pills. So he left back to Philadelphia and we got to use his hotel room. And I tell you, well, that was like a 3-star. That was a 4-star or 5-star because the chocolate's under your pillow and there's a big fluffy bear that you can bring home for a price. Alright, so it was great. It was a great experience. And it was through that 1.5 years where, you know, I met out with a lot of these speakers and learned from there, attended their programs, that I learned so much about public speaking. But you know what's the biggest lesson that have taught me? You can never